You see a cruise advertised for $400, but yet somehow you pay $1,500. People think the cruise lines are being sneaky, but these costs were already there. The problem is that first-time cruisers budget for the ticket and not for the vacation. Today we're breaking down every extra cost so you know the real cruise price before you book. My name is Shane with Mapbound. In the comments below, let us know what made you nervous about your first cruise, or what are you nervous about on your next cruise. Now, there are mandatory costs that people forget about, which means that some extras are actually unavoidable. For instance, taxes and port fees. Now, these can change depending on your location. For instance, local governments may have different taxes, as well as ports may also have different fees. And these fees are a per person fee, so everyone has to pay them. Another fee that surprises people is daily gratuities. They are automatically added to your bill at the end of the cruise, or you can pay them in advance, which is what I usually do. These cover more than just the dining staff, restaurant crew, or the bartenders. There's a lot of people helping out behind the scenes that don't normally get gratuities. So this helps make sure that everybody gets their fair share. Now, gratuities are paid per person per day. So the advertised price of a fare of a cruise ship is more like an entry ticket and not the total fare. The big budget killer, and sometimes can even be more expensive than the actual cruise fare, is drink packages and specialty dining. The drink packages usually include like water, alcohol, coffee, some specialty drink smoothies. These can add up really quickly, so a lot of times people buy the drink package to either save money or because they prefer the convenience. I personally have done both, and I enjoyed both cruises the same. When it comes to buying drinks, especially when it comes to water and soda even, these prices can add up very quickly. So a lot of times I recommend the drink package depending on the person, but I also did do a video on cruise ship drink packages. So if you want more information on that, I'll leave it in the description. Now, when it comes to the specialty restaurants, these are different from the complimentary dining or buffet because they usually have an upcharge. And a lot of times these will include like a steakhouse or a sushi restaurant, a chef's table, and the list can go on forever. Just keep in mind that these are not required, but they are heavily pushed by the cruise line. So the reality of it is you're surrounded by a whole bunch of options you didn't plan for, and people end up upgrading their vacation on a daily basis without even realizing it. When it comes to cruise ports, a lot of times you're going to want a shore excursion. Not always. Some ports are walkable, and I've done both. On my first cruise, I checked off one of my biggest bucket list items, and that was to see the Chichen Itza Maya ruins. But then at the same time, I went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and their port was very walkable, and I just walked everywhere. If you want to do any beach clubs or excursions, that's going to be an additional charge. And then keep in mind, you still got to get to the cruise port. You're also going to have park. So there's going to be parking fees, the transportation from the hotel to the cruise port, and even sometimes the transportation from the parking lot to the cruise port. The reality of it all, a family of 4 can add up really quickly. And a key thing to remember is cruise ports is a huge area where cruise ships make money. So far, I've always had something to do on my port days. The one thing to consider would be you don't always have to have something to do on port days. This is when the ship is most calm, is when everybody is on an excursion or at port. As well as being on a cruise is also being off grid. Basically, you're on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, no wire internet connections. So the only way to get internet is through satellite, which is a lot more expensive. Now, in turn, some people can't live without having internet, or they need contact because of work reasons to the outside world. So because of this, a lot of people would require a Wi-Fi package on the ship. This in turn costs more money. I personally like being off the grid for a little bit, so I've never dealt with the Wi-Fi package. Another place where cruise lines can get you is when it comes to their photo packages. These packages usually include a professional photographer, and a lot of times will have different backdrops, usually including something about the cruise line, but not always. But it gives you pictures that you won't necessarily always get with your cell phone. And when it comes to the cruise line app, a lot of cruise lines are now having upgrades to the app so you have a better experience. Cruise ships operate like a closed network. Internet is premium. Just make sure if you're going to not buy the internet package that you can live without the internet package, because when you buy early, usually you can save money. And unfortunately, most people end up deciding they want the internet package while they're on the cruise when it's more expensive. Another thing to look out for is the convenience traps. There's a lot of them. If you're really big into the spas and you want spa treatments, those will be additional charges too as well. Also, something that may have a fee is a fitness class if you decided to join one of those. While While on the cruise, you're also going to have shopping, so you want to make sure you have enough money for souvenirs or anything else you may need on the ship. On my last cruise, I did have to buy a charger because I forgot a specific kind. So always budget for little things you may have to buy or souvenirs that you may want to buy. If you decide to get room service, most cruise lines do have this, except for it usually is at a fee. If you decide to order a pizza and have it delivered to your room or somewhere on the ship, when it comes to like the arcade games, any of the rides that a cruise ship may have, these are all going to cost money too as well. So make sure you keep that in your budget plans too. These fees a lot of times feel minor individually, but once you add them all together, they add up quickly. Cruise ships don't nickel and dime you, they quarter and dollar you. Also, in some of these I've already said before, but there's also going to be transportation costs as well as pre-cruise costs. One of the big one would be your flight to the cruise, or say if you're driving, the gas money you're going to use to get to the cruise. I always highly recommend having a hotel stay the night before so that you don't miss the cruise. That'll be another expense too as well. That, and you get to explore the port the day before. Parking at the port costs money, but one way to save on this is some hotels will actually have a free shuttle service. Parking at port could be expensive. I always plan mine months before I go so that I can get the best deal. The other thing I look for when parking at the port, I always make sure that they're either within a block or two away or they have a free shuttle taking me to the cruise ship. So these aren't necessarily cruise expenses, but they're definitely expenses that you need to budget for because they are required for the cruise to happen. Many people budgeting ignore this part entirely. I've done it too. I put a $200 deposit on a cruise, didn't worry about it for a couple months, to find at the end I'm just scrambling to make sure I get everything taken care of. I don't do that anymore, and I don't recommend you doing it as well. So make sure you plan your budget not only around being on the cruise, but around everything about the cruise. And so you make sure you do everything and don't forget anything. I have a free cruise checklist you can download in the description. Cruises are still a great value, but only if you budget for the full experience. So when it comes to cruising, the real price is fare plus daily living plus destination spending. If you plan it ahead, the total won't surprise you. My name is Shane with Mapbound. Please like and subscribe, follow us on Facebook, download my free cruise guide checklist, and check out the description for our cruise recommended product. Thanks for watching, and remember, travel is life.